2, 3. Good evening. Welcome to the Klein Party, live from the stage and the floor of the Royal Room. It's so good to see you. It's so good to have you with us today. That was the Tanz, which is the dance of anger and reconciliation. Like so many tunes that come out of the Klezmer tradition, that is a wedding song. And it's the one where you get all the in-laws to dance together. Here we have one from Leon Schwartz, one of the great old-time klezmer fiddlers from born in Bukovina, which is sort of somewhere between Romania and Ukraine, came to New York in the 20s, like so many great klezmer musicians. And here we have a chus. It's very hard to ch through a mask. Chusedlech, a Hasidic dance.
One, two, one, and two.
Leon Schwartz. So for those of you who may not have joined us in the past, we're the Klein Party. We play Klezmerish music. We don't claim to play klezmer for thousands of reasons. Klezmer is a word that means vessel of song, or it might mean instrument of song, or it might mean tool of song. Are we vessels, instruments, or tools?
Vessel. What day of the week?
Yeah, all right. We like the idea of being vessels and instruments and tools of song. But that's what the word means. And after a while, it became associated with a group of primarily Jewish musicians who were all over the Eurasian continent. They were up into what we think of as Eastern Europe and Russia and the Ukraine and down through Romania, but over to Spain and in Turkey, and they brought this music from one place to the other and picked it up wherever they were too. And mostly they played for weddings, and mostly they played for tips and food. So they were kind of like the ultimate, traveling cover bands. And we kind of like that tradition, particularly around the songs, but we don't feel ourselves bound to that music 100%. So here's a fado. There's a Portuguese song called Dois Tons, 2 tones. That's a whole Portuguese style of music that started in the primarily the early 19th century. Portuguese mariners going all over the Mediterranean, picking up musical influences wherever they went. And this music grew out of that, from music from all over the Mediterranean, from Arabic music to Roman music and Roma music and North African music and Spanish and Portuguese music. So here's a song by Milton DeLugg. Speaking of other Klezmerish songs from all the old countries, Milton DeLugg. We all know Milton, primarily from his other song that we play, Just Another Polka. He was a jazz accordion player. He was in Los Angeles. He started playing as a kid, learned to play jazz. He got all the Hollywood gigs, ended up playing with Jackie Wilson. All those Jackie Wilson recordings with accordion on them are Milton DeLugg. He played for American Junior Miss. He played for the Abe Burrows Show. He wrote the theme for What's My Line. He was NBC's musical director. He ran the Tonight Show Orchestra for a year. He was a musical director of The Gong Show, musical director of Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and he wrote the music and the songs for Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. The lyrics to this were written. Lyrics to this were written by Willie Stein, who was a TV producer, but he also wrote a lot of lyrics. A lot of producers in that era were putting their name on songs just to co-own them, but some of them got really good at writing lyrics too. This song was recorded by Nat King Cole, by Natalie Cole, by Doris Day, by Screamin' Jay Hawkins,
No pressure.
Lady Gaga, by the Muppets, and most disturbingly, and I didn't share this with you yesterday when I found this because it's just really horrific, but if you want a truly horrible experience, find the version of this song recorded by Burt Ward, who, those of you who are a certain age will remember, played Robin in the Batman TV show. And he recorded this song produced by Frank Zappa.
Oh my God.
And it's in honor of what is clearly now part of the Northwest's weather pattern, orange-colored sky. Give us a count, Amber.
One, two, 1, 2, 3. Walking along, minding my business, when out of an orange-colored sky, flash, bam, alakazam, wonderful you came by. I was humming a tune, drinking in sunshine, when out of that orange-colored view, flash, bam, alakazam, I got to look at you. One look and I yell timber. Watch out for flying glass. As the ceiling fell in and the bottom fell out, I went into a spin and I started to shout, this is it, this is it, this is it. I was walking along, minding my business, when out of an orange-colored sky, flash, bam, alakazam, I got to look at you. The bottom fell out, I went into a spin and I started to shout, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it. I was walking along, minding my business, when out of an orange-colored sky, flash, bam, alakazam, out of an orange-colored, purple stripe, pretty green polka dot day, flash, bam, alakazam, and goodbye.
Colored Sky by Milton DeLugg and Willie Stein, sung to you by Amber Wolf. So one of the traditions in music that is called klezmer is that of the doina. which is where you start a song with a long, slow, solo improvisation that partly it's to show off the musical chops of the soloist, but it's also particularly in a dance situation because, again, most of this music was at parties and wedding parties primarily, because what else was there to celebrate? And this might be a song where all the really old people got out on the floor to do kind of more of an interpretive dance because the song's not really fast. And then it's followed by a fast dance, by a freylach or a bulgar. But we love that tradition because you can really set something, and so that would be called a doina, where you set that up. It's related to an Arabic Turkish form known as the taksim. But while we do a lot of improvising, sometimes we find transcriptions of existing doinas, or we find other music that we find sets us up and moves us in the same way. And in this particular case, we have a song that we're going to play by that's not in the klezmer tradition, called Char Mezrabi Esfahan by Hassan Radmard. He's a Persian composer. He wrote for the cymbalon, which is like a hammer dulcimer. And this song is known as Four Hands. And when it's performed correctly on the hammer dulcimer, it sounds nothing like what we're doing with it. But it's a composition, and we're interpreting in the way because of the kind of band we are. None of us play the cymbalon. But for the doina for this, we've taken a song by the great American Klezmerish composer John Coltrane. And this is his song, Alabama, which he wrote 57 years ago in September of 1963, after the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. And so Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, Carol Robertson, Carol Denise McNair, 4 young girls who lost their lives that day. And that's who John Coltrane wrote this song for, and we'd like to keep those names and this memory alive through the playing of this song. Alabama by John Coltrane and Char Mezrabi Esfahan by Hassan Redmard. So one of our heroes is the great Naftula Brandwein. The Abe Schwartz Orchestra, which was one of the big New York-based klezmer orchestras, went through a series of clarinet players. And the first was Naftula Brandwein. And then came Sam Beckerman, and then came Dave Terrace. But Naftula Brandwein was the first. Born in Galicia. He was a Galicianer, which is now the Ukraine, came to the US when he was 19, which is a story you hear over and over again of musicians who came over from the old world at a pretty young age, and so their ears were really big, and they were hearing everything around them once they were in New York. And hung out with all the other musicians, and this guy started off really talented. He was one of 13 sons, all of whom played in klezmer style music. And he was influenced by everything he heard. Greek music, Turkish music, Roma music. He called himself the king of Jewish music. Everybody else called him the wild man of Jewish music. He would, in his later years, he was known for performing with like a neon sign with his name on it around his neck, which led to him nearly being electrocuted at least once. And he just wrote these incredible compositions. The music we call klezmer, there's the real old world stuff of the 19th century, and there are people who play in that tradition even today. But when it came to New York, it became something else, and I guess this may be our door into it, at least for us, because of all the kinds of music we like. But anyway, this is Naftula Brandwein's famous tune, Turk in America. America by the great Naftula Brandwine. So speaking of Klezmerish songs from all the old countries, I guess every one of those words is relative. Here is from the great composer Shigeru Umebayashi, who writes movie scores. And he was a bass player. He was a bass player. I didn't tell you that, Joe. He was a bass player for the Japanese new wave band X. Yeah. And X spelled E-X, so maybe it's E-X. I don't really know. It's probably something else in Japanese. But this is Lovers, the theme from the movie House of Flying Daggers. Lovers, the theme from The House of Flying Daggers, a film we should all enjoy. Music by Shigeru Umebayashi. So this next song, so he didn't know it, but our greatest American composer, I like to at least think of as a great Klezmerish composer. This is a song. What?
Duke Ellington played the accordion.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
He did. Well, there you go.
His photograph is in
This is a song by Duke Ellington and Barney Bigard. He was recording and performing right at the same time as all these Eastern European musicians and Greek musicians and Italian musicians were all pouring into New York. This is a song originally titled Dreamy Blues. And Duke based it on somebody else's solo. Bix Beiderbecke, something? I don't remember. But he says it's the first tune he ever wrote specially for microphone transmission. And he did some cool things in his arrangement, and we just love this song, and we'll have Amber sing it with us. Count us off, please.
baby said goodbye. In the evening when the lights are low, I'm so lonesome I could cry. 'Cause there's nobody who cares about me. I'm just a poor soul who's bluer than blue can be. When I get that mood indigo, I'm so lonely I could die. baby said goodbye. In the evening when lights are low, I'm so lonesome I could cry. 'Cause there's nobody who cares about me. I'm just a poor soul who's bluer than blue can be. When I get that mood indigo, I'm so lonely I could die.
Mood Indigo by Duke Ellington and Barney Bogard, his great clarinet player. So here's another interesting sort of doina combination. In this case, we're taking a doina, a transcription of a doina by, that's actually the full name of it is Doina Unserba, a trumpet player who we know nothing about. His name was Mihaj Vite Azu, a Romanian trumpet player whose name may have not been Mihaj Vite Azu, because as I look into trying to find out something about him, Mihaj Vite Azu is the great #1 Romanian national hero, Michael the Brave, ruler of Transylvania from 1599 to 1601. So it sounds like this might be a pseudonym. Anyway, we're going to pair it with another tune that is actually called the doina, but we're not really treating it like a doina, by Joseph Moskowitz, who is a Romanian cymbalon player. Cymbalon, we played an earlier tune, the Hassan Ramard tune, which is also composed for the cymbalon. It's like a hammered dulcimer played with felt or feathered hammers. And in the older days of what we call klezmer music, it tended to be a lot quieter. We're really noisy, and most of what we think of as klezmer is really noisy. A lot of these bands would be a cymbalon and maybe a violin and a cello. A lot of these bands, it wasn't until the late 19th century and early 20th century when all these musicians escaped being in the Tsar's army by playing in the Tsar's orchestra that they started learning the trumpet and the clarinet and all these louder instruments, and finally the cymbalon got pushed aside. But Joseph Moskowitz was one of the last great cymbalon players, and people loved his. When he came to New York in his 20s, early 20th century, they announced his gigs with posters in Yiddish, but also in Italian and Hungarian and Romanian, that he was, they advertised up and down East Houston Street to everybody. And he had a great 5 or so years playing in New York, and then he retired and opened a restaurant. two doinas pasted together, one by Michael Vitiashul and one by Joseph Moskowitz. So another place we draw a lot of tunes from is the Yiddish theater. Back in the day, whatever day that was back then, we don't know, I can't find the history of this anywhere. So if anybody really knows this, but there was a song, and we're going to play the song. There was also a play. And then later it was turned into a movie. We're pretty sure the movie is number 3 of the historical thing, but we don't know if it was like a song that got turned into a play or a play that got turned into a song. Either way, the playwright was Chaim Tauber. And he wrote the lyrics to the song, and he wrote the play, and he wrote the screenplay for the movie, which is one of the most successful Yiddish films of all time.
And he also played Motto. He was also the performer.
He also played the lead, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And the music in the film is credited to Shalom Secunda, who's one of the 4 great New York Yiddish theater composers. He wrote By Mir Miss Duchesne, among other tunes, which is one you've probably heard of. But we believe the song was written by our pal Naftula Brandwein. Partly because I saw a reference to this in one place, crediting him with the tune, but I also just discovered another tune credited to Naftula Brandwein, which is awfully similar to this. It like uses about half of this song and half of that song. And so if there was ever a nifty Brandwein tune, this is it. Anyway, we bring up our pal David Gassner to share with you the story of Motto der Operator. Give us a count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Motto der Operator, in tot ständig nater, alle Jorn geht rum in Span. Treibt der Katerinka und spitzt bei der Maschinka, Motto ist ein wohler junger Mann. Motto wollte halb und Kinder 2. Sie wären bitter, aber war zäh. Und weil Motto arbeitsschwere Fahrten gäbe es alles mehr und Motto bleibt derselbe Mann. Wo's gefühlt in Motto, der Operator Motto, findet keiner Scheres und kein Geld. Viel war Weib und Kinderbräut, ohne Mola Zuckerkleid, Motto will kein Sack nicht von der Welt. Motto is a sewing machine operator. There in the shop, he sews, and all the years round, he just keeps doing the same thing. He turns the crank, he sweats at the machine. He's a good young man. Now, Motto has a wife and 2 children. He works very hard for them, but the harder he works, the richer his boss becomes, while Motto remains poor. A strike has broken out. 12 weeks now, and Motto is a good union man. Where he sent, he goes to the picket line. A strike hat ausgebrochen, so ein ganzes 12 Wochen, und Motto ist ein guter Unionmann. Motto, der Operator, als Mensch steht im Gator und mit alle in der picket line. In Stub sein Weib mit Kinder 2. Oh, na Stücke Bräuthaus, sie wat sei. Tut Motto, Mädels hat alles gut und zum Wasser 30 mag mitten sein. Was will der Motto, der Operator Motto, will keiner Scheres und kein Geld. Viel war Weib und Kinderbräut, ohne Mola Schokolade, Motto will kein Sack nicht von der Welt. Motto is standing in the picket line, and a company goon comes up to him with a bottle, and he assaults them. And with that bottle that he held, he broke Mottle's head, and Mottle is drenched in his own blood. There is a tumult and a scream. They bring Mottle to his wife and his 2 children, who weep and pour out tears. But nothing can be done. Mottle cannot hear. Mottle has finished his job. In picket line steht Mottle und a Gangster mit der Bottle. Boven iets im Dorten mit dem Gas. Mit dem Flasch, wo gehalten hat, der Mottle kommt der Spalten. In sein Leib wird Mottle nass. Gebornet hat zum Lagerschrei. Gebracht ihm zu sein Weib und Kinder 2. Weinen diesen Tränen, nur Motto kennt es kennt. Motto hoch gedenken tun sein Job. Wo spielt denn Motto? Der Operator Motto. Findet keiner Schweres und kein Geld. Findet keiner Kundebräut und einmal ein Zuckerkleid. Motto will kein Sorge von der Welt.
Mottle der Operator by maybe Naftula Brandwein.
Maybe Feinsteller.
So I was mentioning earlier Abe Schwartz and his orchestra, and his first great clarinet player being Naftula Brandwein. And one of his later ones was a guy named Dave Tarashuk, born in Ternivka, also in the Ukraine, also in a klezmer family. Came here as a young man in 1921, worked in a garment factory, and joined the Abe Schwartz Orchestra and became probably the most successful klezmer clarinetist, if not musician, of his generation. Had a huge influence on the kind of klezmer revival movement. He appears on over 500 recordings. And like so many of those musicians, he's on, Jewish recordings and Italian recordings and Greek recordings and Polish and Russian recordings. He was the in-house guy. Anyway, this is a tune of his called Branas Hasin, which I don't know what it means. I think it might mean shotgun wedding. Rumor has it that it means shotgun wedding, but I can't. One of the problems with Yiddish is you get something and it's always in transliteration. I don't get these written in Hebrew and I can't read Hebrew. So it's always a generalization, so that when you go plug it back into the online Yiddish-English dictionary, they don't recognize it unless you spell it the way they would have spelled it in their view of transliteration, which there's a million versions of. Anyway, count us in, Sabrina.
1, 2, 1 and 2 and.
That's the note. Branis Hassin by Dave Terrace. So, okay, speaking of Abe Schwartz, let's see, with 5 minutes, what are we going to do? Well, we're gonna cut to the chase. So, for our last tune today, thank you for joining the Klein Party. We are Amber Wolf on vocals. We are Sabrina Pope on clarinet. We are Brandon Campbell on saxophones. We are Eric Reed on trumpet. Eric Ray Anderson on ukulele. Joseph J. Castellini on contrabass. Off in the shadows, David Gassner on Yiddish vocals. I'm Mark Lutwack. Here's a tune from the great Australian Klezmerish composer Archie Roach from the film The Tracker. Thanks so much for being here today.
Some men are prone to misadventure. Questions of guilt aren't always clear. Some men run from a fate they can't avoid. All men choose the path they want. Some men can be faulted for their reason, feigning to justly intervene. Some men hide from the memories that haunt. All men choose the path they walk. Some men see everything through duty, cast off responsibility. Some regret that their courage sometimes fails. All men choose the path they walk. Some men have attitude that's righteous, care not about the consequence. Some men fight with the violence inside. All men choose the path they walk. Some men have reached their destination, finding their own security. Some men lead until they recognize that all men choose the path they want. Some men have reached their destination, finding their own serenity. Some men lead to others, they recognize that all men choose the path they want. All men choose the path they want. All men choose the path they want.
Thank you. We'll be here again next Sunday.
this song is a little bit soulish, and it's a little bit country, and it makes me happy. And I'm going to play it in a different key because, you know, we've got to keep it spicy and fresh. It's also off of keeping it spicy, keeping it fresh. It's also off of Take This Love.